Dark.
It actually goes with it.
It's dark. Can they hear us? Dark.
Are we all good now?
Are we good?
You guys here after our little dark moment?
Dark.
We thought about doing the whole podcast like that, but
Yeah, that was intentional. That was intentional.
we decided not to do it.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Sorry we had to postpone.
Yep.
But we are here now
Yep.
with people that are feeling a little bit better.
Yep.
Or Calvin's here. Calvin.
Relative to... You know, Calvin, you can both be in pain and not be in pain at the same time. It's called quantum entanglement.
Called Schrodinger's pain.
Yeah. I know which one you'd rather be, but we can't control that sometimes. That's what Dark teaches us.
We probably
Does that
will
make you
take...
feel better? Or?
Oh.
No, it's not. We'll probably take questions later on after we talk for a little bit about Dark and some of our thoughts and stuff, but we'll be happy to answer some questions, or if you guys send in questions that are even more statement-y things, maybe something we don't know, or you think that we would like to know, but we're going to talk about...
What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean.
Yes.
Right?
But we're going to be talking about Dark. There are spoilers here, so if you haven't seen Dark or you don't want spoiled, then...
Go watch the show. You have a great show ahead of you.
Go away. Come back later. Watch us / listen to this later on.
Yeah,
So-
I would say spoilers matters for this show more than most.
I think so. There's some shows that I'm like, hey, these are great if you go into it having no idea what's going on. This is kind of one of those.
This is the ultimate one of those. Like we said, the quote that, fixes everything. What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean. I don't think I've ever felt that way more for a series that we've reacted to.
Sure.
Like, I know this, but I don't know so much. And what I don't know was, at least for me as we were going through, the thing that I wanted,
Yeah.
I was always going over there and maybe sometimes leaving the characters behind in my quest for knowledge. So at the very least, I can relate to Adam and Eva in that regard.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll be going to spoilers, so leave now, and let's get into discussion about story stuff. Rick, what were you thinking?
Oh, no, I was just thinking back to Steins Gate, ReZero, a few other shows.
Some of the great time travel stuff that's come before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, I think this is one of the greatest time travel things that's ever been made. I just know that in my first reaction to it, I was too dumb.
We were all too dumb.
Or, you know what? I'm going to amend that. I didn't get the collective knowledge of everybody that was watching live. I think this is probably the show that if I could watch it live, I would have.
It would have been trickier, though, right?
It would have been a little trickier, yeah.
Netflix, right? So it would have been more of like in between seasons of really discussing what was going on and stuff, right?
Though a fun detail that I learned after the fact is that a lot of these things aired on the dates they take place on. I didn't know that, and that's probably something that we would have locked on a lot more if we were watching.
So
on
like
those
the dates it had on it was.
Yeah, I know it's not perfect, but like certain like premieres and finales, I think had like, no, we're doing it on this date.
It's like they said like June 23rd, and it's like,
yeah, I don't know the details of it. I read that, and I was, after we get done with the show, and I do get into like all the fan stuff. Like I try to get as much as I can, but that's something I saw and haven't investigated more on.
So, like in Germany, it aired weekly then?
I think it premiered on, because it was made for Netflix, but I think that it premiered on the date. Like seasons 1, 2, and 3 dropped on a date that happens in those seasons.
Gotcha. Got it.
I think. Again, I'm not really sure. 100%.
Okay. You're just making this shit up
Well,
now.
it's also a kind of a feeler out there. It's like, hey, is this thing that I kind of read true?
Gotcha.
I don't know. I haven't had the time to go and see. No, you idiot. That's not what happened.
Okay. Since we finished the show, has anyone gotten a chance to rewatch through?
I haven't rewatched all of it. I started to do a rewatch, and I devolved into just watching my favorite scenes, some of them over and over again.
Gotcha.
No, I just went and like read some stuff, like fan theories, and tried to get that experience.
Yeah.
Of like watching it live.
Because I mean, I love Lost, yes, and I loved watching it with Rick, but I didn't have that, that feeling a lot of people come to us for, which is like, I want to go deeper. I want to find out more. I want to, get that experience of all of human knowledge, right? That you can use to kind of like fill in some details that you might have missed, and I definitely missed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Calvin, you didn't get a chance or anything to watch through or anything yet, have you?
No, I haven't watched.
I started a few episodes with Melanie, but it's been her and I will start a few things, and then it might be a while before we watch more of it. Or
Now, did you start it in the dub or the sub?
I was doing it in English.
You're doing it in English?
Yes.
Cool. I think that if I am ever going to do another rewatch, I might watch in English just to have a different feel, you know? Yeah, sometimes like directors or editors will like choose to flip their entire movie and watch it that way just to try to get a fresh perspective. I think maybe if I watch it in English, maybe that'll give me a fresh perspective to some stuff too.
Sure. So as far as story goes with this, I mean, we had 3 seasons of a time shenanigan type of show. What do you guys think about it, especially as far as just like time travel and stuff goes for it?
For me, I enjoyed the fact that, because I said it throughout the entire reaction, like, I know when we get to the end, I'm going to be like, oh, you know? But I think I let myself, like, focus on that a lot. So in my rewatch, and because I knew a lot more what was going on, like, you know, Rick, you say it a lot, like, the second reaction's always better. You know? I definitely felt like my second reaction was better than my first, just because the confusion, I think, is 100%, they want you to be confused. Mm-hmm. They want you to have the feeling of, like, there are some answers out here, but isn't it more fun to be confused? And for me, it was.
It's tough because, like, the narrator telling you things turns out to be wrong most of the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what we know is a drop.
Yeah.
Right?
So, like, it's sort of purposely giving you these answers that turn out to not be true.
Mm-hmm.
And be true at the same time. Right? Because the quantum entanglement
from a certain point of view.
All those things are happening at once. It's just that two get destroyed while the origin does get changed.
Sure.
Right? I do love the idea that all of this comes out of one guy trying to save his family. It has nothing to do with the big time travel stuff that we see in the alternate worlds. It's all about Townhouse trying to save his kid, right? On that road.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that actually changes from when he begins to do it, he does it, and then it's changed. Everything else didn't happen, but also it did.
Yeah, and, like, he broke it into 2 worlds, and he broke it into 2 broken worlds. Like, everyone in those worlds is broken. It's like they're manifestations of his own grief.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, to the point where, like, I was looking at some fan theories where people were talking about how, let me make sure I get the names correctly, but, like, Jonas and Marta are, and like, Jonas is an anagram for Sonia, which is the lady that is saved.
Yeah.
And Merrick Tannhaus, M-A-R-T-A, Marta, like, you could say that they were born out of the 2 people he was trying to save, and that's why they're the perfect match to save them.
Yeah.
They're the angels. They're their own guardian angel in a way.
Why they're in love.
And why they're in love. Yeah. Why they both can't let go, like we see Adam and Eva do, and they can let go, like we see Jonas and Marta make that decision to go back and save that family. It's really cool. It's one of those things that I didn't really get the significance until it was explained to me a little later. You know?
Sure.
Like, I got it, but not the depth. I was wading up to my ankles, but I could have drowned.
Yeah, the hardest part for me for the story is, like, the concept of infinity.
Yeah.
Where, like, these loops are supposedly infinite, but I don't think anything changes in them, right? Like what we see in Charlotte's altering of things at the end.
Yeah.
Like, that always happens, correct?
I'm not the expert of this.
In Charlotte's altering of the end? Like, which part do you mean?
Well, like,
Like bringing the baby back?
The way it's solved.
Charlotte tells Adam that they're actually... Which one exactly is it? There's so many... Especially in that latter half of season 3, there's so many certain moments that I think of when I think of Claudia and Charlotte.
You're thinking of Claudia talking to Adam then? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, in order to get him on board to fix everything.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. So I think that what there's a loop, and everything has been in a loop. But at one point, Claudia eventually has to get to the point to break the loop.
But with the, like, Schrodinger's cat thing, there's a separate reality where it's always fixed, correct?
I can't say yes or no because I don't have any other realities.
Well, there's the origin world. There's two versions of an origin world. One in which that family dies, and one in which it doesn't. And that's the only thing that actually, from beginning to end, has changed, right? Everything that happens in the other two worlds, like we start off on one of the alternate worlds with Jonas. We end up seeing the mirror to that world, but those two worlds split off only because time travel was invented, and instantly all of those bootstraps are created. So like a loop is created, all those characters have to go through the loop, but it was all created and destroyed in the small instance in which time had no cause and effect, right? They talk about how in the apocalypse, like there's that brief moment when all these things can happen and cause and effect is suspended. So I think that in there is the loophole in which all the events in the series can take place and not take place at the same time. I think. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly.
Sure. Well, there's also there's something important about waiting until Marta is taken, right, and sent away by Adam, or I don't know because that one is a different Marta than what becomes Eva. So I don't know. I think that there's some things where you could have it where this has been a loop, but one way or another somehow Claudia builds upon herself over and over and over to eventually break it because she's one of the only ones on her own going back and forth between the two worlds.
Yeah. Whereas
Jonas he does go, but then he comes back and then he's with Adam or he's going with Eva and she's just on her own mission. And I think she slowly passes information back and forth over time of this loop occurring.
But not two other loops, correct?
I mean, it would be eventually the loop just keeps happening, right? But I feel like her information keeps gathering more and more and more till eventually she finds a way to break the loop.
Yeah, and she does that thing where she turns the loop and she twists it so that it becomes the infinity symbol. She talks about how the single point, that's the secret which Adam can't find, and that is the moment in which Marta both turns back for Jonas and doesn't go for Jonas, right? We see that happen at the exact same time.
So you have to say, yes, it is happening within the loops, Rick, but there's no beginning of the loop. So young to old Claudia, I think is constantly passing information and or killing herself and or pretending to be herself in these worlds, looping back and forth until eventually she has pieced it together enough within her notebook or whatever it is that she's passing back and forth.
The book.
To get to the point of okay, this is when I need to get to Adam, and then Adam goes and meets with Eva.
But there's no Claudia doesn't get young again and then have all that information.
No, but she has all of the accrued knowledge in the book that her older self passes down to her younger self.
But only once.
And then she...
Yeah.
No, I mean, over and over and over.
It's not just once. It's the accrued knowledge of all of those cycles combined.
Okay. And we're sure of that? Or is that a speculation?
I mean, what are you sure of in this show?
Man, what a deep question.
Because I mean, that's one of the things in this show. There's so many things that I'm not sure of exactly. I mean, even I understand story wise. When it was One Earth, and it was just time travel stuff. I'm okay. We can do this, and then they started adding in another Earth. I'm like, okay. Yep. Now there's a bunch of new rules. I need to figure out how this is gonna work. Then they tossed in there's a whole other Earth that everything started from, and we didn't exist before. And I'm like, all right, I'm lost. There's a lot of aspects of this that are very different from most time travel shows.
Yeah, but it's one that I really enjoy, if only because, and it leads to a lot of confusion, definitely that I have as well. I love that all the people, all the events, all the decisions that are made, this loop is created with it. It's as if it always happened, right? But it doesn't. It's like you talked about, it's so hard to understand the idea of infinity. Infinity never stops, but there are infinities that are bigger than others. How does that work? There's an infinite amount of points between 1 and 2, but there's twice as many of those points between, 2 and 4.
1 and 4.
1 and 4, but they're all infinite.
Right.
So it's
one's
very fractal.
A bigger infinity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
But it becomes fractal, and I love that it comes and goes. Two whole universes comes and goes because of one man's decision
to
save his family.
Yeah.
And all this pain and suffering, and love and rain, like it's always raining, and all that stuff happens like in that moment of like, I can do something about it. I can make a time machine, and he literally breaks the world, and people that don't exist fix it, like that he caused to exist. I think that's nuts.
Sure.
And because of that, again, it doesn't really make sense, but time stops for a few seconds, which seconds is a unit of time, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But we have to have a story. We have to do something. Come on.
No, I get what you mean. Like time moves for them, right? But not for everything else, kind of thing. No, I don't know. It's
almost as if it's all a math problem, and until you resolve this part of the math problem, you can't continue your work with the rest of it.
Sure.
So those two worlds have to like resolve themselves, their conflict, until they
it's like,
go
you
back
gotta
into
get
the
both
original.
sides to equal the same, but you didn't know there was a variable from another world that answered it for you, right?
X doesn't mean X in this world.
No.
Much like the world itself, like it's an intriguing journey, but a dirty and unsatisfying one in ways. I think.
See, and actually, I was thinking about this too, but I saw Cherokee Jack said that there's a theory that there's only one loop. Like everything's looped within itself, but what if like what you're seeing is the looping of everything within time going to the point that eventually Claudia gets to this point, right? Like that could also be a possibility, which is a theory, and that's the thing. Like I don't know if there's any answers except for the creators that have made this, if they have any idea of what the answer is. But lots of theories could pop up with different ideas too of how many times did this loop? Like did it loop twice? 1,000?
Doesn't Claudia at
Infinitely?
one point
I was
say
trying to
that-
look it up, but I couldn't find it.
I mean,
At one point,
I'm pretty
she
sure
says
she
this
says
is,
that.
At one point, she says this is happening for the first time. But does she know that?
Yeah.
Does she not?
Yeah.
Adam treats it like she doesn't.
Well, yeah, like Adam knows for sure what's happening until he
Yeah.
doesn't, and like that's just the case over and over and over again.
But it still doesn't imply, just saying the first time, it doesn't imply the idea of how many loops. Because the tricky part there
No,
too.
it doesn't. It just means that she's telling Adam like maybe you can do something different this time.
Sure. The tricky part there too of like picking out how many loops there have been is you need to find a start/ending point
Yeah.
of where the loop technically starts.
Sure.
And if you don't know where the loop started, then how do you know where it finished, kind of thing too.
Like we know we know the origin. The origin is Tannhaus wanting to change time to save his family. And he creates the time machine, and that breaks things. But time, like you want to say, when you say like when things, you're not going necessarily where or when on the timeline, because these two timelines exist with time.
Yeah, and
Right?
it's not. He doesn't really make a time machine, does he?
He makes like an engine for one. He's like putting like two things together, and he's putting all these like spokes together, and inside is just like
See,
this,
that's
like,
one thing
orange
is
thing appears.
we don't actually see. I don't think we actually see what he makes, like what he does with that. We just know he makes something that looks kind of time travel-y like the machines we've had,
And he turns it on. Yeah.
and it turns it on, and we just know that started this, but we never see like, well, where does it start, or how does it start, or when's the starting point, or at what point do the people in there start time traveling and getting this stuff? It just
Sure, yeah.
it just seems to always be in existence.
Well, yeah, like no, I get what you mean, because there's time travelers in it. Then and they're attempting to change/not change things.
Well,
and it
and
becomes a
they're
giant
also-
infinite loop.
the characters within it are so intertwined within each other that without their existence and the existence of time travel, they couldn't exist within themselves either.
Yeah.
So it's hard to even kind of pinpoint where it starts. So I think that there is a loop that would have continued probably forever. But Claudia, I think the best thing
had
that
Claudia not interfered and closed it.
I think the best thing she did was kill herself and learn from what Eva was doing and what Adam was doing, and try to like take that information and bring it together to be like, oh, you know what? They're both wrong.
And she's the best person to do it, probably, right?
Sure.
She's like understands all of the like science behind it. I feel like, or has the best understanding other than Tannhaus himself.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Man,
I think
every
she
time
understands the
about it,
logic of it.
Things.
I think that's one of the strengths of the show. They didn't lean on the science and try to justify that or explain it to the
yeah.
audience. They just focused on the logic and
And what the characters
made
find
the
consistent.
audience think about it harder. So they wouldn't worry about the science anymore.
The general sense versus like the specific
Yeah.
science of how it works kind of thing. I see what you mean with that.
Yeah. I really enjoy that. Every time I'm looking now for like, dark ending explained, I can find like 5 different answers. I legitimately kind of like that. There's like the official answer or whatever, the Netflix video that has it all explained. But I like that the showrunners haven't tried to like step on anybody's toes for like, what if it could be this? Like, what if it could be that? That's what Eva and Adam did for countless loops, trying to figure out what it is. I think it's fun. There's also, we talked about it a little bit in the last reaction, but we're also looking through it with a level of separation because it is in a different language and it has clues that I didn't know was like a time thing or a German thing, right? Like the, what was the candy bar that appeared?
Oh, like it was like the Raid.
It was a
Raid bar.
I think it was Raid.
Yeah,
it
that's
basically
what
looked like a Twix bar.
It was a Twix bar, but in reality, Twix used to be called that in Germany. So it was a clue for time, not necessarily alternate change things.
Sure.
Like I didn't know that. I probably would have known that if I was part of the demographic it was for.
Yeah.
That language was for.
Thank you to our
But
German
once they started
viewers
playing
in
the
chat.
music, I knew what eras we were in.
Yep, the Raider bar. And it's just
Raider, yeah.
Twix. So as far as if we're kind of good with story stuff, what about kind of intertwining with that, like character-wise? Like, did you guys have did you have like a favorite character, and also just what did you guys think of characters in general with some of the like? There's a lot of characters in this. A lot of them are really intertwined.
There's a ton,
and I think this show has some of the best casting that I've seen for any show.
I think it does have the best casting, visually anyway.
Yeah.
That
The
I have
only-
ever seen.
The only casting that rivals it is the baby and Willow. Other than that,
But that was twins. When they needed one that was upset, they got the upset baby. When they needed one that was happy and cute, they got the happy and cute one.
But for a show covering, what, 3 different 33-year or 2 different 33-year jumps, whatever it is,
Well,
right? There's 3 different timelines at least.
I mean more than that because we go back to the 1800s.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
but a lot of that stuff isn't also covering
The characters we know.
like the main characters, I suppose. Like you're getting a lot of characters really jumping around with different time things. So
Sure.
it does kind of work in the same.
Like the
It's-
season 1 characters.
It's hard
right?
to pinpoint Noah necessarily because he doesn't live his life in a straight line through time.
Well, no,
You
he
know?
doesn't even exist in the origin world, right?
I mean, none of these
Yeah,
people
none-
exist in the
most of
origin
them,
world,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's maybe 3 people.
Is everybody
think-
at the dinner party at the end?
Yeah, right? Yeah, basically everyone who married in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
exceptionally doesn't exist, right? Because his like Noah exceptionally
Noah?
doesn't exist because his father is the child, right?
His father's Bartosz.
Yeah,
Well,
Bartosz,
hold on a second.
right?
Yeah, let me double check.
Because he gave birth to Noah and the lady
Agnes.
in red. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they all still come down from what, the Tiedermans and Claudia and Egon, you know. So it's like I said, it's so intertwined that you can't really pull much of it apart. But the casting for all of it, I thought, was done really well. I did look in. That was one of the things I did look at. Was there was a thing talking about casting for a lot of it,
Yeah.
and the 3 unknown guys,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
old, the middle, and the child that were like running around doing stuff. The older 2 were, I believe, father and son, which helped with how look alike they were.
Sure.
But also,
and they're the 2 that I'm like, yeah, I guess.
the what ones?
Well, they're the 2 that I'm like, yeah, I guess they're the same person, but like, there's other castings in there where I'm convinced, like, no, they invented time travel for that person.
Sure.
But I get what you mean.
But
and it
there's,
really helps with that one by having the cleft lip as well.
Yeah. But then there's also Peter. Peter, when you go to, I want to say we saw him in the origin world, maybe. We saw a young Peter at some point, and that Peter was played by the other Peter's son.
Okay.
So like that one was just a kid as well.
Yeah, that one
and that
makes
was
sense.
a bigger
Okay.
age gap too, I feel like, or at least a decent age gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, between the casting and the makeup, like
Dude, I was positive that the old Ulrich was just the first Ulrich aged up.
Yeah, Ulrich was crazy. Claudia was super close. I
Yeah.
feel like as well. Like part of that is the eyes,
Sure.
which I'm sure are contacts or whatever.
Yeah.
But
The young and the old Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noah's
They were
looked
really
pretty good. I thought the Franciscas looked like they would age into each other. You know, like
Yeah.
a lot of them were done really well, and I was very surprised by that. But past casting wise, what did you guys think of character wise? And was there any characters that like stood out more than others?
yeah, just my first time through, like they were puzzle pieces more than characters for me. I was just trying to figure out how they fit in, like what their part of the play is. And I mean they're all just pawns at the end of the day.
Sure. I mean, there's something about. I think Ulrich is one for me that I really like. I think there's something about him being imprisoned for like 33 years and us seeing like old Ulrich at the end, who's just like broken, defeated, and he's just like, this is where I live, you know, like, and then him getting some hope every once in a while and it be taken away.
Yeah.
He never gets over his brother being gone. He becomes a police officer. And then he's suddenly given this miraculous chance to stop it by killing his kid brother's killer while a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in doing that, not in failing it, in doing it, is sentenced to being taken out of the timeline. You know? That's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
That's so nuts.
No, I think he was great. I really like him a lot. Trying to think what other characters. You guys have any other characters that stood out or anything?
Claudia, of course, I think is, especially after the show and looking at like fan theories and stuff and realizing like all the cool stuff that she did.
Mm-hmm.
Claudia and Charlotte both, honestly.
All the cool stuff that she did.
Yeah,
Was there stuff that you like?
Well,
like what stuff are you thinking of?
Like Charlotte, Claudia and Charlotte. Which one is the baby that is Tannhouse's?
That's Charlotte.
That's Charlotte.
Yeah.
Claudia is
Claudia's the lady who gets old white hair and stuff, and
like I like the way that she's able to recognize that Regina is from the origin world, and thus I don't care if I destroy these two worlds. And to make it happen, I even have her killed. But it brings the origin world back, thus she gets to live a cancer-free life because there's no radioactivity in Wyndon because they never
didn't have it.
They never had it, right?
Yeah, that's why like the old her tells her like if you do this, you will save Regina, kind of thing, right? Like this
there's
is
something
how you
about,
save Regina. And when you're going through it, you're like, how does that work? Because we get to this point and she's dead, you know? And it's like that doesn't make any sense. She told her she would save her if she did this.
Yeah.
So no, that's done really well with that. I like that.
Yeah, I just like her in comparison to Adam and Eva. Adam, who, you know, is trying to achieve eternal night, right? Like, this thing needs to end and then I can rest. It's better to be dead than in this loop. And then you have Eva, who just wants to save her child that shouldn't exist. And those are both selfish and selfless reasons, yes, but I just enjoy that in the moment that this mother realizes, oh, if I effectively erase billions of these universes, my daughter will live. You know,
Yeah.
it's really crazy.
Calvin, did you have anyone that stood out to you or any characters that you had enjoyed a lot?
Stood out, Hannah.
Oh yeah, man, that actress did such a good job.
She
had so much to juggle.
she was great at being hateable and being just chaos in the middle of what you're trying to perceive as order.
Yeah.
She was still around by the end too, right? She was one of the.
Isn't she the one that has the deja vu and like says like I had a dream about an world
She's
that
at the
ended?
dinner table, yes.
Yeah.
I think that was her, and she's the one that like
And
like
she,
the name Jonas is beautiful.
yeah, she has like a son named Jonas or whatever.
I think
But,
the idea is that she might have a son named Jonas.
Gotcha.
if she were to have a son, she would name him Jonas.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember. I think that in the dinner party she was with Wooler, and they were like together. So I think it's implied that they might have a son named Jonas, not the Jonas we know, but to honor the Jonas that never was. I guess
That she had a dream about.
that
kinda
she
thing.
had the deja vu about. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than Hana, I enjoyed Egon's character and his like transformation over the years.
Yeah, from like the young detective to the older detective to like having regrets about maybe I messed up this case, maybe I should. And he's going back looking into it, and then his death too is his
death was
tragic,
very
crazy
tragic
thing too.
Yeah,
but no, I get you on the Hannah thing. She was definitely someone where
pregnant,
like
I'm sorry.
I was like, man,
yeah,
she messes everything up everywhere she goes.
But you know what? She wasn't messing things up as much as some of the other people.
I mean, sure. The thing is, like, she wasn't in the know of it all, right? She was just kind of doing her own thing. But I think part of it too was like I liked Ulrich and his like tragic, like I don't know who didn't have a tragic story in this, you know? Yeah. Who didn't we see die at some point in this? Like everyone,
the inspector.
Even if we don't see them, like even the apocalypse kind of idea thing too. There's implications that like when you get there, these are the only people left, you know. So everyone else is dead. But oh man. Yeah. It just, I don't know. It was crazy. I also felt bad for, I don't know. I felt bad for older, what's his name? The guy with the ear. Helgi Doppler. I felt bad for older him, but I didn't feel as bad for, I don't know. It's hard to count. Because like as a little boy, he was just a little boy. He gets attacked by this man.
Sure.
And then I don't know what that does to him, that when he's older, he just falls in line with this guy he doesn't know necessarily from the beginning and starts taking kids, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
it's whatever Noah told him, right?
Noah taking kids, looking for his own.
Like, hey, if you don't want that to happen again, you should listen to me and do what I tell you to do.
So with what you guys are saying, too, like, is Hannah like your least favorite character? Like, do you have like a character you're just like, I love to hate this one?
I love to hate Hannah. There's nothing redeeming about her character.
Dude, the one girl's mom,
Katrina?
Katrina, is that her name?
Ulrich's wife.
Ulrich's wife, yeah.
In World 1.
I wanted to say Catherine. I'm like, I don't think it's Catherine.
Yeah.
But like her mom.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, her mom was, yeah.
I hated her mom. I hated that she died that way. Not her mom, but you know, I just that whole segment there. I was just like, I hate this so much.
Yeah, and she was at the dinner party, so she's part of the origin world.
Sure, yeah. Well,
it's just nuts that like when Townhouse makes that decision, it ultimately like it creates a situation in which she's killed by her own mother before she's born. Like, that's nuts. Like you just stumble upon that, and that's your fate. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing to do about it is to not exist.
Well, no, it's for them not to exist.
Yeah.
Aaron, I have a question for you.
What?
In the idea that things can both exist and not exist, is Jonas Adam?
No, Adam was never Jonas. You know, that was
Jonas. One version of Jonas is never Adam.
Sure. No, you're right. I mean, Jonas turns to him eventually, you know, changes over time.
Yeah.
Manipulated by Adam to become Adam.
The Jonas that survives the apocalypse down in his basement becomes Adam. The one that Marta takes gets shot. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's the third one that goes to the origin world and says that line to Townhouse's kid and has him go back.
Yeah, eventually. Once they get to that point and they can like kind of start breaking the loop.
Sure.
Much the same way that Anakin became Vader, but Vader was a different person than Anakin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's also crazy, too, that Townhouse, who is the origin, he is the one that creates time travel and starts all this, has no idea that, one, it worked, and two, like, he has no idea that two people came out of nothing and saved his kids because of him, you know?
Sure.
And not even because of him, because they were tired of what he had done.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, like what he created in the long run of it.
Yeah,
all, right?
It's possible he knows. Like if Hannah has a semblance of that something happened, it's equally possible that he did as well.
Sure, right? I get what you mean. Like maybe he had a morning when he woke up and it's like, huh, that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I will say for the Adam thing, like I feel like I got to a point where I'm like, I'm just holding on to this. I just ride it out. If I'm right, I'm really right for a long time.
Pete from Lucifer.
Otherwise, it's just another guess that I took along the many other guesses I took that weren't right either, you know?
Yeah.
Eric, when did fencing come back?
Oh man, what a fucking! The show was almost perfect.
You know that if they had resorted to fencing, it would have sucked.
Could you imagine if in the final origin part, right? You're like, hey, you want to go practice? And they go out practice, and it's Regina and Wooler, and he gets
And
caught
that's how he
in the
loses his eye.
Oh my god,
That would be
man.
great.
And then she cuts his arm off.
No, that's the other one. We can't get that far.
I should have made that and put it in there and not told you guys.
So what
Yeah.
about this though? Right in the apocalypse, there's a fence around Wyndon,
Yes,
so fencing does come back.
someone does do some fencing.
Yep. Did we ever figure out who's controlling that?
There's a few things that I'm like.
Who are the drones? We can ask that now.
I would have liked to have known. So one of the things was who did the drones that were in the apocalypse?
Yeah, do you have that?
Was that Eva, or was it the government? Because there was a military force there too, right?
Yeah. There's
So-
some kind of humanitarian relief.
I kept waiting for there to
effort.
be something bigger and worse, but also in the idea of the apocalypse, it just seemed like something that we didn't have before the apocalypse that was just out there patrolling, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I thought that part was a little weird.
Yeah.
And I had one other thing that I wanted clarification on at some point too, but I'll wait if we have any drone talk to do.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
I hear you.
I hear you.
All right. Just making sure, because my on and off button is not.
If you open up GoXLR, you can check.
Okay.
But
There's Reddit talking about it.
chat says they can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I,
Good.
I think you're okay.
So who was flying those search drones when we see Jonas?
I don't know, man. I'm trying to
in
look.
2052 timeline. There's no mention of a government or anything.
Yeah?
Other controlling authority. Any ideas?
Umbrella Corporation? Maybe.
There's a lot of just speculation in here on and this is a Reddit thing.
Yeah. The experts.
Yeah. That says Riddick. That's not right.
Chronicles?
I don't know. It just says
Riddick.
Riddick, so I was like, I don't know. But my only guess is after we got further on and we saw Peter and Elizabeth,
Yeah.
right? And they were kind of looking for their mom
Searching
and
for
stuff
their family.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
And you saw all the other dead people and pictures and stuff, and
So that was a hell of a scene.
And
Yeah.
they're like that.
Yeah.
The two of them in the trailer.
They're like
Oh.
that
Vader.
outrigger from Lost. At one point in Lost, there's a thing where they're going through a certain time stream, and they come to a scene where there's just they're in the water and someone's just shooting at them.
Mm-hmm.
We finally get to the end of the show, and people are like, "Hey, what was that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we forgot about that part. We didn't have the time." So no one knows who was shooting at them in the outrigger. Maybe that's where the drones went, Aaron. They fell into an infinity of their own.
maybe we also I don't think we ever saw them again, did we?
No,
that was
I
in
don't think so.
season 1 or maybe 2.
It was
It was early on.
it was either season 2, episode 1, or it was the final episode of season 1.
Yeah.
It
We
was,
It was
had-
like
it
the
was
big
very
cliffhanger
early.
of we're in the future now.
Yeah.
It
But I
was
don't,
before he got his rope burn
yeah, from being hung with
Yeah.
Elizabeth and stuff.
and where we saw the giant bee nests things.
So that part came up and then never came back again. And I was that was one of the things I was always like, what was that about?
Yeah. I think another thing that I regret not having because we didn't watch it live is that in between seasons time when you can go and see what other people are saying and learn about theories, and we might have just dropped the drone stuff after being there's nothing there.
Or
you
you
know,
have time to rewatch it.
or just tend to rewatch it
Sometimes.
and recontextualize a lot of the things that you had saw. I know that I certainly latched on to things that didn't really come out. The drone thing. I kept thinking that's going to come back in a big way, right? There are drones doing this shit,
Or the fencing.
or the fencing. That just look. The fencing thing comes from the rule you don't waste time in movies, right? So if a movie character's I'm pretty good with the blade, it's he's gonna be in a blade fight later, That is not so with a
You do that a
long
lot in,
form
horror
mystery
movies.
television show like Dark. I just thought it was funny that she mentioned she's fencing and be this character who, of all the characters, I think is least likely to be in a fencing fight, a sword fight, will be in one. That was my Adam is not Jonas.
Sure. Another one for me, and I don't know if it's the show or if it's I missed stuff. Because I know there's definitely different times where I was looking to write and trying to make sure I wrote down whatever it was I was writing and missing what was
I know.
happening on screen.
In your quest for attention to detail, you lost a detail.
Yeah. So, but it was Alexander, Regina's husband, who was like also Boris originally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't quite get where he came from, or what he was, or what his backstory was. I don't know for sure if it was important, but I spent a lot of time being like, oh, I bet it's important, and then I don't feel like I ever really got the answer for that.
So he only would have met Regina because he met her on the day that she was being bullied by Ulrich and Katharina.
Yep.
But Ulrich doesn't exist in the origin world, so he never, like, at least that event never happened, so he never meets
Well, I'm not talking about the origin world, Eric.
Regina.
Like,
yeah, no, but you were saying, like,
why
where
did-
does he come and where does he not?
Why did he have the gun, and
yeah.
why was he running bloody through
I
the
wasn't
woods?
sure on that, why he had the gun, the 2 passports, and then also that one detective guy was, like,
The
looking
inspector.
for him because he killed his brother or something,
Yeah,
right?
it was his brother that was killed.
So there was some elements of that where I was like, I don't know exactly what this was or what it was supposed to be. And that's either my fault, like I missed something in the show when I was writing and stuff, or
No, it's just because that is one of the things I tried to read up on afterwards, and I think we got it like at the end where it's only to further the apocalypse. It's only to bring in that detective so that
he breaks open the
barrels.
vault and uncovers the material, right?
Yeah, so like other than that, it doesn't really matter.
well, is it? I mean, it does in a way. If it's like, did what are they called, the unknown or whatever? Like, did those 3 do it? Because they did a lot of stuff with
strangers.
Like, yeah, the stranger guys, right?
Yeah.
Like they took out the guy who owned the one factory or the
They threatened the mayor.
well,
right?
they killed the guy who owned the
plant.
the power plant.
He was building
right?
it. Yeah.
The guy in the wheelchair. They killed him. They also, I think, killed a guy or at least threatened a guy about coal. Like there was like a coal plant or coal something, and there was some kind of like law. So,
Yeah.
like, there was stuff with that they did.
That was the mayor thing, right?
So like I guess I kept waiting for like, well, did they come in and do stuff? And was he running from like these 3 guys or something?
Dan Lord
So-
says the unknown sent the letter to the detective so that he'd come to Wyndon.
I did read that.
Okay. I guess that gives a little bit more connection of like, they didn't make the accident maybe, but they brought the detective to start causing problems and leading to.
They
that.
guessed what would happen if they got him involved.
Sure.
Maybe.
Or knew it already because of time.
The
Because of
unknown
time
is so
things.
interesting.
Yeah, the unknown is.
Like, what is he? You know,
Well,
like
and he
he's
like-
the offspring of 2 different alternate timelines that only came about because one other timeline was changed. So he's like, he's the unknown. He's the impossible, but he also is being used to like make sure the loop continues as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like his absurdity gives credence to everything in a way, like time and physics wise. I don't know. It's like he in himself is a loophole. And so when she has that baby, does she have 3 babies? Or does they get that baby from 3 different timelines? Like they
get
never
that
age,
baby
no matter
from
where
3
they show
different
up.
timelines.
She would have the one baby,
Yeah.
but the others would come back and always be there.
Didn't they lock pregnant Marta in a cage at one point?
They did,
Right?
Like a chicken, yeah.
but they let her out.
I mean, they would have had to. Whenever she like agreed, I guess, or whatever. But
Yeah.
Sorry.
oh, I have another one that was always a thing that kind of bothered me. Not always a thing because it's not been that long that we watched it, but one of the things that kind of bothered me too. We talking about like Adam being Jonas and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like the getting to his like scars and stuff. I don't know. I didn't enjoy the way they did it. I'm assuming because we had one time like he's building that back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And he
Where-
gets like shocked and burned that
Like
one
it
time.
rebounded on him.
And I'm like-
yeah.
Is it just like he just gets shocked a whole bunch over the time of making this thing?
Yeah, like there's
And,
no
like-
reason for him to take any safety precautions because he knows he exists in the future. So he can just throw whatever at the wall in order to get there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, he fucks himself up.
I guess it's just like he's just doing this and gets shocked, and it gives you a reason as to why you can't really tell if it's him for sure in the future.
There's a
you
line
know?
earlier in the show that says like he looks that way because like this is what the rigors of time travel has done to him or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
it doesn't come across with
But
anyone
it's
else.
the rigors of trying to create the time travel, I
Yeah.
suppose, right?
Well, because
Yeah.
Claudia doesn't do it, and she time traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Marta, Eva doesn't
Eva,
look all
yeah.
messed. She looks older, but like scarred and stuff.
Same
like
way that
Marta
Claudia does.
So like,
Yeah, the only other people that look that way are the kids that get teleported and their eyes are burnt. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that was because of the machine that Noah and Helgi had in the bunker, right?
Yeah, which
Different
I think
time
was
machines
With
made
the
at
copper
different
coils and
intervals.
stuff.
yeah, which was another type of time travel thing they were doing. I guess testing with or just doing it to. I don't know.
I think it was a test.
I guess that's all it could have been, right?
Yeah, and eventually that led to the finished product that we got. I think.
But I don't know. I guess him getting those scars, I think I would have liked it more if it was just like he just was in a fire and you really got like, oh, this is when it happens. Kind of a, I don't know. I don't love it, but it's okay. But the way that like Palpatine becomes scarred, right? Like there's a moment when that happens, and
Yeah.
here's how he turns from normal-looking senator dude to
Chief
really
Palpatine
creepy old
to-
wrinkly monster guy. You know,
As
like
opposed to the old legend stuff where it's like, well, Palpatine's actually incredibly old and he uses Sith sorcery to change his appearance and make him look more like a kind old man, you know? Like, but, you know, the lightning, like, rips it away and you can see his true face. Yeah, I like one better than the other.
yeah. So I like just being able to see that
Yeah, I mean,
and like, oh, here's when it is, but
I get what
it's
you mean.
kind of there, I guess.
Yeah, the idea is that it's like one scar of 1,000 scars versus one big scar, right? Like the guy, like what limit will he go to? Well, we
Sure.
know he'll go to any limit. So he literally pushed that till he had no more hair.
Yeah.
I suppose so, yeah.
But I don't know. Were there any other issues or anything in the show that you were kind of like, this always stood out to me, and I wish we could have gotten more of an answer on it, or
Issues.
did I
specific ones.
cover the main ones that we all may have had?
I mean, I feel like those were kind of the big ones. I mean, I had a lot more before I started looking into it after we started watching. I think I have more of an understanding of theoretically how everything works, or at the very least can say why it doesn't work
Yeah.
by giving the the explanation that at a certain point there is no cause and effect. Right?
Sure.
Whenever they sync up those apocalypses to happen at quote unquote the same time from different universes, and it's able to do that. But from that spawns so much.
Yeah.
And there's just something really beautiful that it's all temporary. It all takes place in that moment of time in which Tannhaus thinks about making a time machine, and then his family comes back in the door. It's really
Yeah.
cool. It's like It's a Wonderful Life, but way darker, and all your friends are dead.
And he doesn't
Except
remember
they're
it,
not there. Yeah,
like
they're not there happy. They're all
like George Bailey does.
Never seen it.
You should watch it, Aaron. It's great.
It's good.
The best time travel movie.
It's
No.
really good.
Man. And then just fantastic cinematography throughout the entire show as well.
The visual language of
Yeah.
the symmetry and the mirroring
Yeah.
different parts of town, and
Especially watching or rewatching parts of season 3, you can really get a sense of they changed the aspect ratio depending on what world you were on. The origin world had the widest aspect ratio. The other ones had slightly different ones.
Yeah.
In our quote-unquote world, where our Jonas is from, it's always raining. In the alternate Malta's world, it's always really foggy. And then when we do end up seeing the origin world, it's always really sunny.
Sure.
It's another little thing. I was like, huh, I didn't notice.
Did you
that.
also say about like they like there was like the flip,
There's
right?
everything flips.
Yeah.
And the door that we noticed, the hinges in the door, that flips too,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And
No,
that's why in the origin world it goes up.
I like that they took like from World 1 to World 2, like, okay, you go to this, now everything is in the reverse. Like everything's flipped around, you know, and
like the bus stop is on the other side of the road from.
yeah, the bus stop's being moved, or like the bedroom's just entirely flipped around, or you know, you're in the house and the stairs are going the other direction up the steps,
Yeah.
you know, and like just having all that element there too. And
Hickman said Eva's world was film flipped, so the actors had to act left-handed too. That's kind of crazy.
so they filmed it and then flipped it afterwards. So then they must have also then made all the like art or posters or whatever reverse on the wall then, right? So that
They
when
said
they flip
every
it,
poster was originally flipped, so it looked correct
It looked correct
as
yeah.
well.
man,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's a lot of work for that, but
Oh yeah, I
It
mean,
came out really
everything's
well.
A lot of work.
It did.
And
It
they,
came out extremely well.
They had the benefit of writing all 3 seasons at the same time too.
that's one thing too, is I like that they got to like, I feel like this is the story they wanted to tell, so they got a decent Like, I mean, write this. Let me do how many seasons we want to do, and there's our story,
It really
beginning,
fits
middle, end.
together
You know,
remarkably well, especially considering like you have season 1. It's like, all right, there's some mystery, but what's going on in the world? You're thinking of one world. You're thinking of timeline, that one world. And in season 2, we get the introduction of like, oh no, there's a whole other world out there that we have to deal with that. And then 3, you think you're gonna get a whole nother alternate world, but it turns out it also mystery solved is the real world. So the 3 you think is gonna be that alternate third world actually becomes back to 1. Really cool. Really well thought out. I had heard that when the series was incepted, it was more of like a detective crime solving show.
Like Twin Peaks,
Yeah.
kind of.
it's like
Probably.
more serialized then, or
Yeah,
what?
That's what I had heard, that originally they had kind of like, because I can't remember what movie this team had directed before. It was a thing that I had never seen, but it was also a movie that I was like, I had heard about, man, like they did that and then Dark? That's nuts. But I can't remember the name of the movie right now. But yeah, from what I understand, there was like, this was obviously Netflix's first foray into German-produced television, and they had a little bit of like a change of like what they wanted to do, and it ends up being the 3 seasons of Dark, which I think is great. I mean, I'm sorry that their next show didn't pan out. Apparently,
It only got 1 season.
we got 1 season. That sucks because I was really looking forward to seeing what this group of people do next, and
Yeah.
I don't want to watch just one part.
$18.99.
$18.99. So, man.
Yeah, that would be thoroughly unsatisfying.
But I'm glad that Netflix like gave them the go ahead to like, hey, tell your story. If it gets really successful, like, would they have been forced to make a season 4 or 5 or something? I don't know, but they didn't. They had that tight 3 season arc. I really liked it. A lot of the shows that I like that find a lot of success don't end when they should.
I mean,
Sure.
that's one of Netflix's things, right? Like, their stuff usually doesn't go
Oh yeah, they
even
end
as
too.
long as it should.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have Netflix going at season 14.
But yeah, I feel like shows either get canceled before they get to finish, or they go too long.
Yeah,
I don't feel like there's too much in between.
There's not too many shows I feel get the chance to tell just the story they feel like they want to tell. I feel like there's either not enough money coming in, so like companies cancel it, or it's bringing in a lot of money and they're like, hey, we gotta keep this
Like,
going. We can't drop it yet.
I love Black Sails, but if they had found commercial success in its first 2 seasons, would it have gone longer?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
Because you get a little bit of a time jump in towards the end, I think too. But having that, like, you could have just not had those time jumps and just.
I feel like a lot of shows have that feeling of like, and in this moment, they decided what the ending was going to be and got there.
Yeah.
Dark doesn't have that. It feels like that from the very beginning for me. Like there is a
don't
conclusion
know.
to the
Pace feels
story.
very
With
linear.
the drones, maybe they were going to go another way in the future, and then they're like, you know what, let's do this instead. I don't know.
Sure.
Drone-
The drones you could always leave up
drones.
to like, look,
Nope.
there's going to be a lot of details about that world that you don't know about. Drones
Like-
are just one of them.
The fact that it's apocalypse, everyone should be dead, but there's drones.
Well, yeah.
I was like, what?
Maybe it's all stuff of like
Who
DCAT.
has these drones?
I mean, maybe it only goes as far as like the radiation, like the fallout would
How
go.
big? Like
right?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yeah. Like that
Sure.
one only had radiation go so far, right? Eventually it stops,
Yeah,
but it was dangerous in that area.
yeah. So maybe that's what it is. It's like the, the evacuation zone or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I assumed like other continents would still be pretty okay. It would just like ruin the ecosystem and kind of taint everything.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Dr. Stone thing.
Unless it's a Dr. Stone thing.
And I mean, of course, like there were going to be significant changes from incepting the show, filming it, editing it, and putting it out. There's always going to be changes. There's changes from your first draft to the second draft. It doesn't mean that you're not putting in that work.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right. Would you guys have anything else, or do you guys want to take some questions from chat for a little bit and see
yeah, I would love questions.
thoughts that they have?
Yeah.
Guys, we'll take some questions from chat. If you have any, you can use the channel points down in the bottom corner. Send in questions, or even if you have like tidbits of information you want to ask, and we'll go through a few of these and
Sure.
see what you guys have to say. gonna go to. It's both like, I think the same question.
I had questions up, but I broke.
I have them open. I'm just trying to read between. There's one person sent 2, and I'm trying to see if they're the same question. With Malik says, "What's your guys' best moment in the show, and or the best episode?" For me, old Ulrich reunion with Mikkel, and best episodes 3-7. Also a foreshadowing of moments in the show, and 2-1 when stranger Jonas meets Hannah. When she asks him why he's here, he looks at the floor in the same spot where Marta died or will die in season 2 finale. And also in 1-1, Marta says to Jonas in the forest that she's having a deja vu, and it was a hint of parallel universe existence that was revealed in 2-8. So do you guys have either best moment or best episode that you really enjoyed?
Realizing 2 characters were each other's mother is pretty nuts.
It's pretty nuts.
That's definitely a one up there. I'm gonna agree with the Ulrich, like
I think
just seeing Ulrich again, like at the table, you know, when Hannah comes up to him, and like weirdly enough, seeing his hope of like, oh my God, someone came, you're gonna come back, right? Like, I was so happy for him. Ultimately, it was crushed, but I was so happy for the character
when Katarina came, and helped.
And as much as I like him, he's not like the best, most moral character on the show that I root for and everything. But there's something about the actor's showing of him suffering that just felt so real and earnest that when I saw him happy just for a brief second, I was like, yay.
No. That moment there when he sees like his wife, that he, you know, I left my wife to go try to save my kid and all this stuff, and now she's here, and he's so old now, you know, like it's been so many years he's been stuck here.
Yeah.
I do like that moment. I do like him going and seeing his son, and you know, he fails trying to get him out of there kind of thing, but I think that one's a good one. There's also one where, what was it? I just lost it.
I'll give mine. What do you think?
Someone else go, I think.
I liked the Nielsen party, where like people were actually happy. Like,
yeah,
like it was the one time in the show where it wasn't dour and depressing.
Yeah,
I wish there were more moments like that.
Yeah, the final dinner party is kind of like that.
It is,
right? I guess that's kind of the point. Like, out of Tannhouse's fear and anger and grief comes these 2 worlds that are intertwined with it.
Yeah,
right. So we can blame him.
Yeah. You can.
Effectively, he's God in the story.
I mean, it's raining in one world the whole time, which it was raining and when it happened for the death. Could also represent sadness and stuff too. The fog, it was probably foggy with the storm and everything too, but it could also just represent like
that party.
It's hard to see the future too.
It is,
you know.
Did you think of yours, Aaron?
No, I was listening.
I mean, there's so many. When you have Michael, the father, like when you realize, oh, he wasn't thinking about suicide until you said it.
Yeah,
that was a big one.
Sure.
Because in my head it was all like already packaged. Like, no, he already is doing this because he knows this and he knows this. Nope.
But it's
That's
introduced.
What you think you know. What you think you know is the illusion.
It's introduced from him. You know, everything has to be introduced in a way.
Adam did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Effectively, his own mother.
Dylan.
Well, Adam killed his mother.
Dylan says, like, what's your guys' favorite episode? His is 2-6 when we see Wyndon before the first episode, and Jonas has that amazing moment with his father.
Yeah.
I have to admit that I don't look at Dark episode by episode. Like, I think by the nature of what it is and the nature and how we watched it, it all just feels like one big thing to me. So I have a hard time like thinking episode to episode, honestly.
Man, it's I keep thinking of moments, and I'm like, man, those suck. You know, like, I'm like, what's my favorite moment? I'm like, oh man, there's that one moment, and it was when it was Claudia and her dad, and she's trying to save her dad because she said like, an invader will come in and kill him and kind of thing, and that whole episode is tragic and sad. Like there's, like Rick said, like he picked the only happy moment in the whole show.
Yep, that's the one.
So it's so tricky to kind of be like, what's my favorite moment in this? But I think some of the reveal moments, I love some of the reveals of like, oh my gosh, that's Ulrich. No, wait, was it Ulrich? I forget who it was. Someone was like, wait, he is his own great grandpa. You know, like there's that kind of thing. It's like, wait, did I say that right? You know,
I do like how you can go to this official app and start. Okay, so they make that person, and then that person gets with that person, and then that person also is on this other side over here, and they get there. You know, it's pretty nuts.
It is. No, I'm trying to find where it is to
But
get.
I'm sure that whoever came up with their timeline family tree thing got so happy whenever they were able to kind of squint your eyes and you can see the infinity symbol, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's crazy. I do like looking at this because like I also have the time tree thing open from the website and everything, just to try to be able to look and see everything. There is one. It's more of a moment, I guess, than an episode, but it's. I remember looking at this. I remember of Jonas dying, and he landed on like a tree like this, like right in the center, and whether it's kind of symbolizing like him being at the center of it all kind of thing, or if it's meant to be like wings or like what it's going for. Like I just thought that was a interesting place to have him like fall.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that moment. But that may also just because I'm staring at this the big tree of everything, you know?
And it does kind of look like wings.
A little bit.
Like a butterfly or something like that.
Calvin,
Maybe.
did you say about any moments or anything?
I don't know. All the moments that I'm thinking of are bad.
There's not like a
Bad
great
moments
moment,
can
you
be
know?
significant,
But I
though.
mean, there's...
Maybe the inspector, like, finally pinning Alexander Tiedemann.
Yeah.
But then he goes off and causes the apocalypse.
Here,
So,
I got one now. Here's a good moment, right?
Okay.
When the thing's happening and like the portal's opening around that time,
yeah.
and old Elizabeth from the future, sees her mom on the other side of that portal and like snags her through it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a good moment of her like
That's a good
saving her
moment.
mom, you know? I like that. That's a good thing too. But I mean, there's so many good things. It's not that they're good, but there's just so much good storytelling, I think, in this,
Yeah.
and elements, and then epiphanies, maybe, I don't know, like, oh my god, that's what this is. Now I have an answer to this question and 10 more questions I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love going to like, here's some frequently asked questions. Okay, I'll click this thread.
Hey,
Scrolls for
normies.
days.
Thanks for the raid. If anybody hasn't seen Dark, we're talking spoilers.
Be
Big time.
very careful.
Big time
Big
spoilers.
time spoilers. But thank you so
So
much.
But welcome.
be careful. Yeah. Hi.
What's the biggest spoiler you can think of? Go, say it before they leave.
There's not a lot of sunlight.
Ah, ha ha, gotcha.
Oh man. All right, let me see what the next question is. We have Marvelous JJ.
Okay.
Said, first of all, thank you for inspiring me to finally watch Dark. It was a wonderful journey, and I really enjoyed watching your reactions to the show. I always think it's fun. Like, there's people who's like, hey, I've been waiting for an excuse to watch this. I'll watch it with you guys.
Yeah, I know.
And well, cool.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah,
more
It's
people.
always the thing that
I
I
really
like,
appreciate that.
we put out a poll or we announce we're doing a new show. You'll get a lot of people being like, "Ah, man, well, there's another hole in the schedule. I'm not gonna watch that." But there's a few amount of people that'll be like, "I'll watch it because you guys are watching."
Sure. So that's fun,
know,
too.
that's
They're
always
going on the
nice.
journey with us, so that's fun, Marvelous JJ. But they said, I had some time to wonder, and I think that Dark has the best concept of a time travel story for me, and the best casting. But in terms of characters and emotional connection to the story, I personally prefer 12 Monkeys. Absolutely love that show and can definitely recommend to any Dark fan. Heart, sending your best vibes and feel better soon, Calvin.
I've always heard really good things about the.
I've never seen,
seen the movie.
12 Monkeys.
Yeah, the
Is it a
TV show
movie
I
or a
heard.
TV show?
It's
both.
It's both?
They
It's
made
both.
Are they
a TV show
connected,
much later,
or are they like
later. I don't know.
separate like versions of them?
Yeah.
I think they're retellings, but I'm not sure.
It's not like, because like Ninja Turtles has like multiple types of Ninja Turtles, but they're not all
I
connected.
think they're meant to be watched separately, not
Okay.
together.
I have seen the movie. I have not seen the show.
I've never seen either one.
Me either.
It's
I've
been a
heard
while.
great things about the show.
Is 12 Monkeys Bruce Willis?
Yes.
Okay.
The movie.
I think I've seen like maybe the beginning of it or something, but I don't know what. I never watched it. Like my dad was maybe watching it, but I feel like I remember like Cages or something.
Gotcha.
Sounds right.
Gorlantino99 says, "Hi all. Which shows would you place alongside Dark in terms of mystery, complex storytelling, or mind-bending plots? I've been trying to find another show that leaves me content but also mind blown."
Yeah, I mean, I know I say it a lot, and I know recently some stuff came out about some of the writers' room that I'm not happy with, but I really like Lost only because, yeah, there's a lot of mysteries and it's really fun to speculate, but it also has some really strong, fun characters to see bounce off each other. So if you like Dark because of its characters, that are responding to a mystery, Lost might be something that you find interesting.
Sure.
Yeah,
Is it the time travel aspect? Is it the mystery aspect? Because I think
For me, it's the mystery aspect. I love when a character is confronted with something they don't know. Like, I love when Adam is suddenly like, wait a minute. This is a feeling I haven't had in so long. This might be different, Like that moment that he realizes he's ignorant about something. Well, that happens all the time in Lost.
Yeah, Dark feels to me like a combination between Lost, Twin Peaks, and Steins Gate.
Gotcha.
I would watch all of those. And as far as films go, I would watch Primer.
Trying to think shows that have left me like, oh man.
Steins Gate was one. Definitely.
Like there's definitely those shows or movies where it's like you watch them once and like you can never watch it that way again.
Oh,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Sure.
Like I don't think every movie necessarily feels that way because sometimes just action movie is just an action movie, But like, if you don't know the movie, like a movie like Sixth Sense can only be watched the way it's watched that first time. And once you're familiar with it, you can't quite watch it the same way again.
Sure.
My
then you're just waiting
is also
for-
correct. Attack on Titan. It's like that as well.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
would love to watch the new one. We can't.
It's like
Yep.
the
We
mystery.
can.
No,
We won't.
Can't.
I've never seen. What movie did you say, Rick?
Primer.
Primer. I've never seen
I've
that
tried
either.
to get you guys to watch it forever.
Sounds like a trap.
It's
Sounds like a paint.
He keeps turning it on randomly, and we run out of the room. He's trying again.
But
Those are
I
those things I used to read.
I do agree with Eric for a decent bit. Like Lost has a good bit of like mystery to it and trying to figure out what the story is gonna be. And I remember watching that and I'm like, I'm going to the next one, going to the next episode, going to the next episode. What's going on? Like that was like my first time. I remember before that was Hero season 1. That's the first show I remember like binging through. Lost was the next one I remember like binging through because I didn't watch it when it first aired. I was catching up to it.
And I'm sure there's a ton that we haven't gotten to, which makes me excited.
Oh man, yeah. If there's other ones that are like, hey, this is just as good as Dark, I can't wait for that kind of stuff.
I can say, like, I think you guys would enjoy the mysteries of Fringe, but I know what those mysteries are. Like, there's so many other things out there that none of us know the mysteries to,
Yeah.
or the answers to.
All right. We have 92 Chris just says, don't know if you know this, but the actress who played Agnes,
Okay.
Ante Trau, I don't know if I said that right, is in Man of Steel, and she plays Faora.
She's Fiora, yeah.
Ul? I don't know.
She's the lady Kryptonian baddie that has what I still think is like the best on live action speedster fighting I've ever seen. Though I haven't seen the new Flash movie, so. But yeah, no, okay, yeah, that's totally her. Holy crap!
She
Yeah,
played
she has that
Agnes.
whole like evolution thing in the IHOP with Superman.
She looks very different. Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
That's crazy. I know. I want to do Fringe too.
SKNC15 says, have y'all ever tried to trace the family trees? It's so convoluted. It's crazy.
I mean,
I'm
luckily-
looking at it right
Yeah,
now.
luckily, we had the app for I don't know up until the end of the first season. I think is maybe when we started using it. But
I didn't use it until into the second season.
gotcha.
I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then, like, I think maybe it was third season. Okay, what's that website?
I didn't use it at all
me look into
in
it.
the show, really.
But just looking at that, it's pretty crazy. And that one isn't even... I don't feel like this one shows the idea of, like... It was Ulrich, right? Who was, like, his like own, like, great-great-great-grandfather thing?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Ulrich that we talked about? Because, like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's necessarily shown in this either, you know? Maybe if I click just him. Nope, now it just tells me other stuff. Go back. How do I go back? No! I'm stuck now. But I can't imagine, like, just tracing the entire tree and trying to, like, actually put everyone where they belong and stuff. I mean, Jonas is a crazy one, too, but... Benny12, do you know who young Noah killed in the beginning of 2-1? Also, I hope you react to some bloopers. In the beginning of 2-1.
Bartos?
Is that when they were like?
That's when they were
like
That's
building
when
the
they were
tunnel.
They were
building,
building, and then he
or
comes
they were
out
digging.
and he kills the other guy. Do you know who
Yeah.
the other guy is that he kills?
I think Rick's right. Is it Bartos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who would be his own father, right?
The other way around, or
No,
Is it the other way around?
Bartos is Noah's father.
okay, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, he kills his own
1921,
father
they're
in
making the
the scene.
passage and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, why is that guy a dick?
I think it wasn't it something about like Adam told him to do it or something like that. Is that the idea? I don't remember exactly why he did it, but
Sickmundus.
I'm pretty sure that's who it was. But I don't think I realized that
He was.
then. You know. Well, I think I knew it was his
Wasn't he,
father.
like-
I didn't realize who it was.
Yeah.
yeah,
He
we
was
had no idea.
blaspheming against Adam or something like that, right?
Which I think makes sense given that like he was there with him and he was kind of against him through a lot of that past 1800s
Yeah,
time
he
and
was.
stuff too. So I don't
Adam
know. It
told
kind of
his
works a
young
little bit.
Noah that his father was losing faith.
So there you go. That's what it was. Suspiciously inactive says, which child/parent murder surprised you the most? And they have
I was
4 of them listed.
Super surprised that Ulrich couldn't kill Helgi.
That was surprising.
I think I'm gonna go with Katerina and her mom.
Yeah.
Helena.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that was definitely very shocking.
I think so. Because even going into like Claudia's storyline and everything too with that, like because we were in time travel, I think I was kind of like, oh man, because there's so many times I've seen time travel stuff where it's like the person going back trying to stop an event caused the event that they're trying to stop.
Yeah.
And I was worried that was the route that we were going to be going. I didn't think that was going to end with Katerina the way that it did.
Yeah.
I think that one shocked me the most. The Bartos thing that we were just talking about, like when it happened, I was just like, all right, I don't necessarily know who these people are yet. We were kind of still learning who Noah was, and we didn't know who his father was at that time.
Yeah.
Hannah and Jonas is also on this list, and I don't remember that one.
Adam kills Hannah. Right?
Yeah, he gets on top of her and like chokes her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay.
Mhm. The middle-aged.
He's scarred up, but yeah, he's not old yet, right?
Yeah, he's not full on Adam yet. And then he takes
That's right, 'cause she comes
takes the
back
baby.
To him, like back in time. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
back in the 1800s.
It's really interesting that there is a lot of parents killing children, but so much of it is about parents trying to save their children. I mean, the whole thing comes about from a parent trying to save his child.
But the parent, like, because he fought with the child and
Yeah.
the child left, the child dies.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, he probably feels like he killed
Yeah.
or was responsible for the death of his child.
Like Ulrich goes to save his son, lost in time, by killing another kid. You know,
Attempting.
attempted to kill that kid.
And his brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Most of these are all child kills parent except for Katerina.
Which
Yeah.
is parent
Which-
kills child.
Yeah, right. Which also is like an unknown one, right? Claudia's is like an accident. Katerina's one is on purpose, but there's, I don't think the way she went about trying to get that tag was the right way, you know.
No.
And then Jonas's one would have been on purpose too.
Yeah.
And then Noah's was on purpose, but Noah, I don't know why Jonas is necessarily. I don't remember exactly. Noah's was because he was being led by Adam astray. I think Jonas's was like just trying to clear up loose ends. I guess like you shouldn't be here
In killing who?
and killing Hannah.
Hannah?
It was because of
Like she shouldn't have been there, and then he took the kid, right?
Yeah.
And that was Celia, right? Which then
The child, yeah.
Bartosz married.
I believe so.
And he was
and
also
had
angry
Noah
at Hannah
and
Sorry, go ahead.
Agnes, right?
Noah and Agnes. Yeah. He was also what?
He was also angry at Hannah because of, like Michael, right?
Yeah.
True. And Mitre is right as well. The lady who drowned in the lake was also foreshadowed in season 2 when they were out there swimming in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, watch out, the lady's going to get you under the water. Right? Like there was an idea of someone being under there.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, guys, I loved your reaction to Dark. Are you most satisfied with watching a show or movie when the mystery is solved and everything makes sense? Or do you prefer the journey and the forming of questions more? Like Lost and I don't know what Leftovers are.
Leftovers.
I prefer the journey. I prefer the questions. I really, really love doing that. As long as I know that I'm guilty of doing it ad nauseum to where the story takes a back seat. So as long as I'm doing it and in a way where I'm not like overlooking characters or moments because I'm just focused on what's happening versus what it makes those characters feel. Does that make sense? I know I'm guilty of that a lot. Not so much in this show because it is so strong, but there's been other shows where I'm more obsessed with what's happening versus how it's causing your characters to feel.
There's getting caught up in the line of solving the mystery versus like letting the emotions of characters hit you kind of thing. Is that kind of what you're meaning?
Yeah.
I can see that.
But being able to at least, like one thing I've been trying to do the last year or so is like, if I do come up with like, ooh, I think this is going to happen this episode, I try to like not say it. And then if it doesn't happen, maybe I'll say it in the discussion, you know? That way, like, just because someone else figures something out or is wrong, like I've certainly come up with something, am wrong, and then it hits me a weird way too, you know? So there's also that, you can lose doing the theory crafting thing too.
Sure.
Like some people will get upset when a theory that they like isn't true, you know? So there's that too. It definitely has pros and cons. What about you guys?
I definitely
like both.
prefer the long term, like the build
You like the
and
build?
the speculation and stuff,
Sure.
rather than watching a movie.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like writing for a movie is too fast paced for a good mystery that isn't intentionally obfuscated. So I end up like either figuring it out early or it was too convoluted for the audience to have figured it out in the first place.
Sure.
So I don't enjoy that as much as the growth and the evolution of, you know, crafting theories and
So
stuff.
the journey through the more so than like the wrap up of the mystery.
Yeah.
It's kind of your thoughts.
So
What do you think, Rick?
I like both, depending on the nature of the show, I guess, or the movie. If I feel like it is centered around a mystery, I want that to have a satisfying conclusion. But if I feel like it's centered around something else, like characters or themes, and the mystery is there, then it doesn't have to be satisfyingly concluded. It's kind of how I feel about it.
yeah.
I think satisfying is the
I understand
the
what
key
you mean.
word. Because I can be satisfied doing both of those things sometimes, but there's nothing that compares to that feeling of like you were surprised and had all the information and still didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
That's gold. And you can do that long form or you can do it very short form.
Yeah.
Like whatever your main point is, do it well.
Yeah.
And then everything else can take the passenger seat.
I think I'd go with the journey. I think I've had some things where like I'm very curious on the mystery and everything. I get to the end and the end doesn't quite hit, but I need to make sure I also enjoy the journey that I had with it. I think the best example I can think of is a mystery show that the whole thing is a question. Like the title is a question. How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Right? The whole journey of that I really enjoyed, but I also felt like the ending of it didn't land for me, and I wasn't super happy with
The
it.
satisfaction wasn't.
Yeah, so I didn't have the satisfaction.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't also just enjoy the show because the journey they have for it and everything is still good.
Sure.
I have a similar thought with Lost on my side of where like the ending for me I didn't feel like hit, but doesn't mean like the journey I had with it wasn't fun and be like, what the hell's, why is there a polar bear? You know, like there's so many mysteries that you can have with it and stuff too. So I think the journey for me is more fun than being like, all right, am I fully satisfied with what they told me by the end of it? So.
Good question.
Thank you, Alex. 92 Chris says, remember when the kids were in the lake? Well, we just talked about that, Chris.
Yep.
Okay.
We know that.
We just talked about that, but thank you.
Yeah,
but yes,
thank you.
Woman in the lake, that was Mother.
That was also when they found the
The little necklace.
yeah.
Yep.
The saint.
Was that the other Jonas too?
That was the other
That
Jonas.
was the other Jonas, right?
Yeah, because that was immediately after he traveled through to the other side, and he still had blood on his hands, and he was dumbstruck.
All right. And I have one more question here right now. Dalek OG. I don't know. What are those? Which character do you think had the worst fate inside the loop? For me, I believe it to be Ulrich, having to live the rest of his life imprisoned in the wrong time.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I think it's terrible.
I mean, I feel real bad for Helgi.
Yeah.
Helgi was used for a large portion of his life.
Yeah, like from childhood on, used and abused.
Noah didn't have it particularly good either. He was also manipulated and used and then killed.
I think I might go with, as much as I love Ulrich, and I think he has a terrible, tragic story, I think I'm going to go with Claudia.
I think Claudia's a good one.
Claudia,
Yeah.
inside the loop, goes through trying to save her child and can't do that. She tries to save her father and can't do that.
Yeah.
Feels responsible for both of those situations, I feel like, but also has to just keep pushing forward, hoping and believing that what she has told herself or what Jonas has told her, or, you know, whatever element it is that she's getting information from is right, and that where she's going will ultimately save like her daughter and stuff, you know? So I feel like she kind of has a very tragic story of being stuck in this loop, losing everyone but trying to get them out. But also, I mean, maybe it's not as tragic because, I mean, I imagine Ulrich, if you're going to keep looping that, just eventually just, you know, he just dies in that facility.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe that's more tragic than eventually being able to, like, break the loop.
I think Katerina's story was also very tragic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, her husband's cheating on her, and she's trying to figure out answers, and she finally
lost her
gets
kid.
a hold of something. Her kids drop this piece of information in her lap, and she finally has something to hold on to. She starts getting into it. She figures things out. She has all the pieces that she needs to get it sorted out and get her life back together. And her abusive mother from the past kills her, and all of those things just go by the wayside. None of them are resolved.
Sure. You know, we also don't talk at all about, and like, it's not like Ulrich doesn't do any bad things at all.
Oh, he does plenty bad.
Ulrich?
Yeah, Ulrich.
Child murderer?
Well, he didn't. He's a failed child murderer.
Which could be worse.
Is that worse?
I don't know. But the
What a job to half-ass.
the stuff he has to go through with Hannah, like, he is, from, if I remember everything correctly, like, she accuses him of raping someone.
Yep.
Right? She finds him in jail and leaves him there.
Yep.
You know, like, she gets to the point where she's like bribing or blackmailing someone else to make sure his life is as terrible as she can make it, you know? Like, there's elements there where I'm just like, dang, man, Hannah just going all out for Ulrich. And
Scorched earth.
yeah. So it was, there's a lot of other things besides just being in prison forever.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that he felt that he had to kill a kid to try to save his own kid, you know? Like,
And then knowing that he was trapped there and he failed, thus knowing that while he's trapped there in an institution, the things that he was trying to stop are happening.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah, he's living that life of like, I could have stopped this and I didn't stop it.
Yeah.
You know, like, technically he shouldn't have been there anymore. And in a way,
Yeah.
it would have really unraveled a lot of issues there, you know, but maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't have.
like Michael is terrible, except his brain seems to kind of forget what happened in a way. Like, he seems to sort of at some point let it go and like have some sort of mental breakdown and doesn't really put it together until he's talked about it by Jonas again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's the worst outcome, but I always feel a lot for Peter, who in one world is a psychologist married to Charlotte, and in another world he's a priest married to Charlotte, and in the real world he's with Bernadette, the trans woman that he was having an affair with, or the other kid he was having an affair with. Like, he only in the origin world is he able to have a happy and healthy relationship with the person that he loves, but because of what Townhouse did, it like breaks him off to have a character that should never have existed be his wife. And here he has like a crisis of morality, and over here he has like a crisis of faith, but he does it on two different timelines. Putting that character's trauma all together makes it very satisfying to see him happy in that dinner party at the end.
Yeah.
But also sad because he has a daughter who never existed, you know?
And also sad because he died trying to defend her.
So, yeah. I'd give Peter a special shout out in the dark department.
We're gonna go to Marvelous JJ. She tossed in one here. I don't know, Eric, you're usually better at this, but what did you think of the music on the show? I really enjoyed a lot of songs and music montages.
Yeah.
But the score was a bit too much for me. Always intense, almost without breaks. I don't feel like I usually, especially first time watching something, I don't like, a lot of songs don't pinpoint for me unless they're like really jarring or different, or maybe they just really bop in an action sequence or something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
But like, I feel like typically music just kind of helps fit the show and you know, the feeling you're going for. And if I don't notice it, I feel like you're doing a good job.
Sure.
It's kind of like visual effects in a way for me.
I agree. I mean, it certainly has a voice all its own. Like, I can tell, like, oh, that's dark, you know? Even the intro, which I'm pretty sure the intro is used in an episode of Breaking Bad, so I've heard that before. But when I think of it, I think of dark now. You know, ever, not ever, that one.
Yeah.
Like,
I was watching a clip show of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And I recognized that song and also the oh shoot. I think there was a Vikings
the Vikings
intro as well.
Yeah. Sure.
Which both have a very similar
I feel better then, because at a point I was like, oh man, the song. It was like, give me more or something, right? But that's the Viking song, isn't it?
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, give me more.
I thought you were talking about Grease for some sec.
No, what? No, not.
Tell me more. Tell me
more. No.
Yeah. But no, in terms of the rest of the music, I mean, it definitely had themes that came back, but I think it was probably because I was so, I don't know if strained is the right word, but strained to make sure I am trying to absorb everything through the barrier of I can't actually understand what the actors are telling me. I have to read it, you know, that the music, it wasn't not memorable or anything, but it's not something that I developed alongside the characters. It was like an addition to, in a way. Like, there are Naruto songs that, like, yeah, oh man, dude, when this one pops on, oh, I'm so happy, you know, but with Dark, I'm always just kind of like, man, what a bleak world. You know, so I'm not often like driving down the road being like, you know what I want to listen to right now? I'll listen to, you know, Dark Track 8. You know, everyone is dead. You know,
I want my heart rate to go to 150 for no reason.
Yeah. But I certainly, on rewatch, it's something that I'm going to enjoy a lot more.
I agree with JJ. It was too intense for me too often. Like, it was just like the tone of the show, where if it's the same thing all the time, it loses its impact.
It was too intense for me at times, but other times I really enjoyed how, like, it made me feel anxious because nothing was happening.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
It also literally had the Doppler effect in it too, right? Like, high pitch match with a low tone, and I mean, to the point where
I'm pretty sure that was Helgi.
What?
I think he was the Doppler effect.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, not only is that present in the music, but they also have the Doppler family.
Yeah.
there as well.
So I guess the Doppler effect wouldn't work for him, right?
Maybe not.
No.
Does it work for you? Like that's the idea of like.
Yeah, it works.
I mean, it still changes pitch.
I guess you'd hear it would get much quieter.
It would get
quicker,
quieter on
right?
the far side, yeah.
Much faster.
No, I can't, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you the direction, but I'd be able to differentiate the high to the low.
You would know when it had passed you.
Gotcha.
And I hear it all the time in television and movies, probably more than I hear it in real life.
Asmodeus just says, will you guys be updating your show tier list this year, and whereabouts would you place Dark? Everyone keeps saying it's always the next podcast, and I'm like, we haven't announced when it's going to be.
Yeah.
But we'll probably have one at some point, and we will place Dark when we have one. But as of right now, there's been no scheduled time for...
Doing it this Thursday.
No, we're not.
It'll go quick.
The power.
It would go quick.
All right. A few of these here are details.
Okay.
If you guys want a couple
Yeah,
details.
let's go through some details.
Mula Kaluki. Sure. Fun detail is, what is Katarina's name in the Origin world? Her name appears to be a paradox because Hana gives Katarina's mom the inspiration to name her that, and then uses her real name or her name as an alias. So, like, what is her name in the original world, the Origin world?
Where they don't meet.
So, yeah.
If you can have deja vu from the alternate to the origin, maybe you can have deja vu from the origin to the alternate.
Could be.
It's still the name.
And how, like, what percentage of German women were named Katrina when she was born?
Ooh, sure, yeah.
You know, if you're just playing the odds.
Also linked to kind of a similar thing, Benny12 says, remember when Hana met Katarina's mother when she wanted an abortion? When her mother attacks Katarina, she says, the devil sent you and I got rid of you, because she thinks Katarina is her aborted child.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I got that when that scene was happening.
So she just knew she was killing her kid, but was like, you were my aborted kid from the devil.
Yep.
Well, I think she's crazy.
I agree.
mean, yes, but no.
I mean, she does look a lot like her kid because she was, but I don't know. So,
I might agree with you.
and then we might actually maybe be wrapping up here. Here's the
All
last
right.
one from Alex, who says, did the performance of the actors feel kind of weird, with the show being not on a language that you understand, or more authentic because of it? So did it feel weird, or did it feel more authentic?
Didn't feel weird to me at all.
It didn't feel weird to me.
I mean, there is an authentic nature to it, and like I'm like, okay, well, this is what they're speaking, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
I
like
think
if
I think
it all
it's-
takes place in Germany,
Yeah.
they should
Yeah.
be speaking German.
I mean,
So,
I think the vocal performance matched the facial performance in a way that the dub wouldn't have. And
Sure.
also just Adam's voice and Egon's voice. I wouldn't trade a translation for those.
sure.
You know,
I don't think that I need to have authenticity like that. Like I'm not. Rick, was it you who played like Metro, but like in Russian,
yeah,
so that
that's me.
it would be authentic?
That's a me.
I don't need that stuff. I'm
Yeah,
fine
like-
with it. If it's gonna be in English, like that is easier because it's just dubbed. If they did Dark in Germany but spoke English, like I wouldn't be bothered by that either. But I was fine with what this was.
Yeah.
It was more difficult to me, I think, especially as a reaction, rather than me just sitting and just watching and absorbing. Me taking notes and everything too, trying to make sure I'm keeping track of what's going on, because, going week to week with that, I'm gonna forget a lot of time travel stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I remember what I can, but it was just harder to follow sometimes for me. And sometimes I think I missed a couple things here and there, and I'm like,
Sure.
hope I didn't miss anything too important.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
I would try to look away when it wasn't super important for me, but I don't think I had any issues or disconnect with the
I mean,
characters too much, really, I
sure.
suppose.
I wouldn't say too much. There's a little. I mean, so much of the way that I consume and enjoy things is I love to get a line in my head and hear the inflection and, why did the actor say it that way? And I can do that whenever I, am am doing an impression or, thinking about the line in my head over and over again. I think of Gandalf and I think of, I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of honor, the fire,
Flame of Odin!
flame of Odin. I can do that in my head, and it's such a huge part of my fandom because I can understand the actor.
Sure.
There's a Egon. Egon's actor in this. Hear that voice. It's down in here. But I can't appreciate it as much because I can't do an impression because I don't know how to speak German. So whenever I think of Egon's tone of voice in my head, I have a disconnect because I'm not actually saying anything he said. I'm thinking of the lines that I read on a screen and thinking of what his voice communicated to me.
Sure.
But there is a disconnect.
It's like when you hear a badass samurai say something like, that was so cool.
Sure.
But I can't say it. I have no idea what he said. But it sounded so awesome.
The most this rears its head in our lives, at least for me, is anime, right? Because we watch a lot of our anime, or most of our anime, dubbed, and that only comes from the place of I can tell you what Goku says on Namek, because I watched it when I was a kid in English.
Yeah.
Ally the good, nightmare to you. I'll never forget that, but I probably would have forgotten it if I read it, because that's just not how I learn. So there's a disconnect for me, but it's not so bad that I can't see the oftentimes amazing work being done on screen.
Okay.
Two videos? Okay.
One is the complete timeline. It's about 16.5 minutes.
That sounds like something you could share to us and we can watch on our own time.
Yeah, I don't think we'll watch that one. That sounds too long.
One is Dark's season 1, 2, 3 Deja Vu moments. It's about 5 minutes.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Do you guys want to watch something, or would you rather?
We can do the Deja Vu one. I'm okay with that if you guys are.
That's okay.
Is that all right?
None of us can spin our chairs.
I'm constantly spinning in my chair. I don't know
But
what you're talking about.
60 minutes sounds too long.
Right
I'm
before
already
we
dizzy.
do that,
I can't get more dizzy.
Lewis Hoffman, who plays Jonas, is actually going to be in a movie with Bella Ramsey, according to someone in chat. So that's really interesting.
That's cool.
Good for
We
him.
need to hop on Discord for this.
We can. I will say, I'm gonna do one. This is the last one. I probably won't take any more questions after this too.
Okay.
It is about the suggestion box a little bit, but Pikmin also said, first off, all the best to Calvin. I hope you get better soon. Second,
Thank
just
you.
want to say how much I appreciate you guys getting around to Dark. Was the first show I became a Foresight patron for. Third, if you have time and want to check out Discord suggestion box, there's some videos in there of Dark. If you want to watch them in the podcasts that were suggested in the Dark channel. So we're going to check out one of those videos. There's another one in there that's going to be covering the whole timeline, which sounds like an interesting thing, but I don't think we're going to watch the whole thing here now. But we'll watch some Deja Vu things and see that.
Deja
And then that
Vu.
may also be the wrap-up that we're going to be having,
Also,
too.
if you like Dark, play 13 Sentinels, PS4/5. Also, very good.
Do that.
Whatever that
Oh, I
is.
can't hear Eric talk. That's going to be a problem.
Well, I'm not
can't hear me?
in
I can hear
Discord. Bam. Hello.
I can hear Aaron talk.
I am Aaron.
Hi, I'm Eric.
Man, nope, nothing. Let me check.
Okay, it's only 5 minutes. We can get through it.
Yeah, that's not too bad. All right, seasons 1 through 3, Deja Vu moments. So all the Deja Vus throughout the whole series.
Sweet.
Once
I'm ready.
everyone's good. I am good.
I don't know if I can hear the video audio, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll find out.
It's okay. You can just hit
Yep,
play.
I can hear it.
I hear it.
Yep.
Ein Fehler in der Matrix. Ein Fehler in der Matrix.
This is sweet.
Yeah. There are definitely some of these that we caught.
And it's flipped.
That's cool that it's flipped. Oh, this is with Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the same place.
Same hallway.
Was soll das? Warum bist du hier?
Wir müssen damit aufhören.
Es tut mir so leid.
Das hat sich halt früher aber ganz anders angehört.
Man, it's crazy.
One of these was more surprising than the other.
Yeah.
But the Deja Vu should have hinted at that, I guess. He walked over this fridge several times.
Dude, you can make one of these about me every day.
Yeah, everyone. Oh, but it's like the same drink though, right? It was like a.
Well,
The
they
milk?
all check their milk. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's-
eine zusammenstürzende Zentralregion ausbildet. In der selbst die Entstehung der Neutronenmaterie den Kollaps nicht auf.
Also, so ein schwarzes Loch.
This is also
das
how you should
entsteht
watch
dann,
Vampires
wenn
Kiss
sich eine
and The
zusammenstürzende
Wicker Man, by the
Zentralregion
way.
bildet.
Side by side.
Und in der gibt es dann Neutronen. Also eher so Neutronenmaterie. Aber halt nicht genug. Und wenn so einem Stern, der 3-mal so schwer ist wie die Sonne, das Licht ausgeht, dann explodiert der. Nein, implodiert. Und das ist dann ein schwarzes Loch.
Ich liebe dich. Ich liebe dich.
Schön bist du.
You're beautiful. Yeah.
Schön bist du.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
On the opposite side.
Yep.
And that raincoat exists in the Origin world too.
No, it doesn't, Eric. No one has a
does.
yellow raincoat.
No,
Ever.
Hannah looks at it.
No one has it.
It does.
Obendorf. No.
And even that's kind of it's like flipped.
Text
The
isn't
picture is
though.
flipped, but the
Yeah, but
text.
just his picture is.
Yeah.
Ulrich, warum hat denn das so lange gedauert?
Erster Schultag. Eine Riesenschlange beim Bäcker.
Die Apokalypse naht.
Warum hat denn das so lange gedauert?
Erster Schultag. Eine Riesenschlange beim Bäcker.
Yeah.
Die Apokalypse naht.
I think we caught a lot of those elements with Ulrich.
A lot of them with Ulrich, yeah.
Wir gehen heute Abend zu den Höhlen.
Fahrt von da lang?
Vater glaubt, dass er da Erik Stoke findet.
Fanny hat mal erzählt, die haben da ein verrecktes Eichhörnchen mit 5 Beinen gefunden.
Du glaubst euch jeden Scheiß.
Mm-hmm. The 1 to 3 comparisons are really good to do with having the other world.
Yeah.
A lot of that early season 3 is basically just flashbacks, but different people, different situation.
Scheiße. Was ist in der Höhle? Was ist das? Ach du Scheiße. Was ist hier los?
Scheiße.
Was passiert hier?
Los, lauf! Was mit dem Lappen?
Kilian, los!
Was mit der Scheiße? Weg hier! Martha!
Man, I was positive when we watched this, there's some monster coming out of that cave.
No.
Holy crap, what is it gonna be? The Demogorgon.
No, it is nuts how close it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kilian?
Jonas Mata.
So I understand that he's seeing his father, and that's traumatizing for him. But what's she see?
Who's that lady?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I'm like, wait, who's that lady though? Did we ever figure that
Who's
out?
that lady? I don't know.
Maybe
I
chat
don't
will know.
recognize her.
At the time, I thought that was her.
I mean, it could be her mom, I guess. That would make the most sense, but
I thought
That-
it was her
that-
when
that-
we watched it originally.
It didn't
don't
look
know for
like
sure.
her as much.
oh, you know what? That
watching it
makes
again.
sense. It's the Marta that died.
Yeah.
Her dead self.
Eric, you're turned down
My bad.
too much.
Sorry about that.
So, but no, that's cool. I mean, the connections they have with that and the way it kind of just like really, a lot of those I remember watching. But oh man, this is just like with Ulrich, you know. And there's Ulrich just doing what he did
Yeah.
before. So it's really cool to have those comparisons with this other world and everything that they did. Everything's mirrored, looped. But
Uh huh.
I don't know, overall, I had a lot of fun with Dark.
Me too.
I thought it was a fun show. sad, gloomy show in ways too, but also like just the mystery box aspect of it. And if something like Fringe or some other shows that we haven't seen is like that, I think that'd be fun to watch in the future at some point.
Yeah. Definitely.
Me too. No, it was a fantastic show. The thing I take away from it is just sometimes it can be too late to tell the person that you care about you love them and make new experiences. Like so many of the characters that we see here that are so hurt is because they can't get back what they lost.
Sure. And they're all of them are fighting to get that back like the whole time.
And all of that pain and suffering came from one man who couldn't get back what he lost and did whatever he could to do it. And in succeeding to do that caused so much more pain and loss. So it's a tough one, but I come out just thinking about all the people that are in my life that I really care about and how I don't want to lose them.
Sure. No, it's one of my things I've been trying to make sure is never to leave somewhere angry at people. Because I don't want the last thing that I've said to have been in anger, and then that's a regret that I have going forward, or a regret that they have after I've died or something like that, where it's like, man, I wish that wasn't the last thing I said to him. Like, you're an asshole or something, Like, some people might you don't want to have that.
Yeah.
So, all right. You guys have anything else about Dark? Rick, Calvin, you guys good?
I'm good.
Good?
Wasn't as bright as I thought it would be.
I don't know why you thought that. So, all right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for our podcast for Dark. We appreciate you guys joining in with us.
Great show.
If you haven't checked it out, you shouldn't have been here.
Yep.
True enough.
But
great recommendation from our patrons.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to watch through that. And that's one of the things with the polls. Is like sometimes it shows that I don't think we would have ever maybe watched, or maybe I never would have watched. Maybe one of you guys would have at some point. But there's so many shows nowadays that it's hard to like, what's the best things for my time that I should watch? And I mean, I am glad that we watched Dark.
Me too.
It was fun with you guys too, like mystery box and try to like, what the hell is there fencing? That's not Adam, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, thank you so much. There will be a stream tomorrow for Zelda.
Yes, sir.
There will be a stream on Wednesday for Rick, I believe.
That is the plan.
Have you announced what you're playing yet?
No.
Do you want to yet or no?
Sure. Final Fantasy 16.
Rick will be joining right here on Twitch. Final Fantasy 16, playing that. So
With
make sure
Maggie.
you guys join in with Rick and Maggie.
Yes.
So it'll be similar to like the Ocarina of Time playthrough.
Indeed.
So that'll be Wednesday 6.
I think so.
And then I don't know what's going on Thursday, especially with Calvin. I think Rick is planning a podcast.
I think Maggie and I are going to try to have a podcast.
So
on Thursday.
I think there will be that. And then we'll let you guys know Friday because Eric and I are going to be gone here for a few days.
Because we want to be the very best.
We're going to Pokemon up in Columbus. So if you're going to be there, make sure you say hi. If not, maybe just watch around Columbus. Maybe you'll see us.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for Dark. Join us for this podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.